Hello, everybody. My name is Jim Farmer. I'm the festival director of Out on Film, Atlanta's LGBTQ Film Festival. We've just wrapped up the in-person portion of our festival, and we stream until Sunday. As always, we've had great programming, amazing short films as always. One of my favorite programs every year is always our animation extravaganza. And this year's program was very, very well received with some great films from literally all around the world. So thank you to all the filmmakers who are part of it. We have some of these filmmakers here who are going to talk about their projects. Thank you all for joining us. Um, we're going to go around the Zoom room, let everybody introduce themselves. So if you could just tell us a little bit about yourself and your film. We'll start with Lucian.
Hi, my name is Lucian or Luke. My film was The Little Pirate Maid.
Mhm.
How in depth do you want me to say right now? Just like the name of the film
Just a
and move
little bit.
on.
Your name of the film and just
Okay,
a little bit about you. And a little bit about your film.
okay. I'm a animator, artist, concept artist, everything like that. I like to hand draw everything, and my
Mhm.
project was actually my senior thesis, for my animation degree because it needed to be animated, obviously. But then, what would we make our short about? I love pirates. I'm trans, so trans pirates.
Nice. Congratulations. Libro.
Hi, yeah, I'm Libro Levi Bridgeman. I wrote a poem for my grandson called for Ezra, and that was published a few years back. And then I approached Jen and her twin sister Crystal to do an animation about that poem. It's about being a non-binary grandparent and how you explain that to a young child.
Okay. Jen.
Hi, I'm Jen, and I'm a co-director with my sister Crystal, who lives in Berlin and unfortunately not able to make it today. But I'm a stop motion animator and live. Well, yeah, I do live action stuff too, but I kind of combine everything. I also use projectors, which was also used in the film. And yeah, so we worked with Libro to make Grand Dandy um and bring the poem to life and to have representation
Mhm.
in something that everyone can relate to.
Great. Thanks so much. And PJ.
Hi everyone, I'm PJ McGurko Licorice, the writer and director of the spooky stop motion short film Brim Broom Boulevard. Um, it's this kind of journey through catharsis through costume and how the power of a look can be so expressive yet dangerous in
Mhm.
so many ways. And that kind of journey through shedding of the ego and still embracing your true self and kind of the beautifully formidable and fashionable power of fashion and costumes. It was my first stop motion animated film. I worked with a lot of friends and colleagues on the fashion side, including my dear friend Jackson Biederhoft, who is the costume designer for the film. He's a CFDA Vogue Fashion Fund finalist. So it was this convergence of stop motion and fashion in a really elevated way. And it was just really neat to see the synergy of these two worlds that are so complementary, but haven't really combined before come together to create this really wild and fabulous world.
Mhm. All right. Again, we'll do this in the same order, but where are you right now in your festival run in terms of getting this film out to the world? Luke?
So I actually had a shorter version of my film that was only 3 minutes long.
Mhm.
That was my senior thesis because we had a strict like time we were allowed to do it. And so I put that in the film festival circuit like last year and it
Okay.
got into some stuff, which was fun. But then this year in like March, I updated it to be like the full 6 minutes.
Okay.
So I just started submitting it in like May, so it's only been a couple of months, but it's been good.
Great. Libro and Jen.
Um,
Yes.
yeah, go ahead, Jen.
Oh no, I was saying about the same time we started. We finished in about May-ish with everything, finally, with all the posts and everything, and then started submitting in around May time.
Great.
Yeah, so it's early days. We had a film festival in Greece just before we came out on film. So we're just starting our journey, really, our festival journey.
Okay, great. And PJ?
We started our festival tour with Dead Center Film in Oklahoma in June, and we've been in a few since then, and we're continuing now as well, which is great given the seasonal potency of Brim Brim Boulevard and its Halloween roots. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun, and the response has been fabulous.
Great. Next question, again, same order. How long did you work on your film? And can you talk about, the animation feature, what you think that does to bring to the project, embellish it? Luke?
We had about a year in school to work on it, but it wasn't full time. So it's hard to tell how many hours it actually was. And then I took like maybe 2 months this year to extend it. So, good amount of time. And about the animation element, I love animation because, and this is the hardest thing about it, but I think this is what makes it awesome, is that you have to fabricate everything.
Yeah.
Like you don't even get the sun to help you like with lighting or whatever. It's the characters and the sound and the visuals and the environments and the timing is completely fabricated. So you have complete control over everything. So everything can look exactly like how you want it, every facial expression, every color. And I just think that's really good in terms of visual expression of identity, like sort of what PJ is saying. So that's why I like it.
Libro and Jen?
Well, we started planning in August, July.
Yeah, I think it was a little bit. I got some money from the Arts Council of England to turn the poem into a stop motion film, and I was a little bit naughty because I didn't. I put the Jen and Crystal in the application, but I didn't tell them. I put them in the application, and then the money came through, and then so I texted them and said, "Hey, do you want to do an animated, like a stop motion film of the poem for my grandson?" And then we started to have the conversation, and then you started storyboarding and then building sets, Jen.
Yeah. And then I think we started shooting in November, and holidays and such, but and then most of the shooting was finished in February, and then we started doing post work.
Yeah, and I created the poem, and that was recorded. So there was lots of different components to kind of move around a bit, and the sound spacing was quite interesting because they took live recordings of my grandson as well to put in the film of him giggling and making sounds. So everything had to be sort of synced up.
Yeah.
But as you said, I think it was all finished by, was it February? A rough cut by February, I think.
The shooting, and then we had to do post and all the music and lots of tweaking. But PJ, I'm sure you understand like how much the before goes into it. There's so much planning ahead of time before you actually execute the animation itself, because everything has to sort of be ready to go, because it's just a lot harder to change. It's not like like an eraser. It's kind of a lot of post work if you want to change something.
Totally. There's no reshooting per se.
No.
A detriment.
Yeah, or if you do, it's like, it's like, so you have to redo something. But just to go on the point about animation as a genre, especially for these stories, I don't know. I think for me, it sort of brings it into wonder, especially stop motion, because there is that sort of quirky child ish hand. I mean, we really lean in to the hand quality of how everything's made. So you see stitch, you see stitching or things coming apart slightly. Things are not like so done where you could like say, sometimes I remember working on a job where they made us, can you make this look crappier?
Mm.
Because it like looked too slick and it almost like didn't look like stop motion, which is, I mean, just like, isn't that crazy? But just the wonder and how like you can really sort of bring this story to a place that I think a lot of people, like I said earlier, can relate to. And I think it's because it is such a sweet story and it is about Ezra, who is this young child, that it sort of worked really well to make it feel like this like magical place of love and this relationship that um is just like, evolving and exploding in some ways. Like clearly they really care about each other.
Okay.
So, anyway.
And PJ.
Like everyone else has said, like animation has always meant a lot to me, especially stop motion animation. So I think there's always been a goal for me to create a stop motion film. I go back to loving the Rankin and Bass Rudolph films, obviously Henry Selick's work, Tim Burton's work, and always have like had this year-long fascination with Halloween. It's not just a holiday for me, it's a lifestyle. Um, I think that a lot of queer people especially can relate to that because it's sometimes a catalyst for that permission on a larger scale to like feel like you can dabble and experiment with this and that. And the main trick-or-treater character was inspired by my constant love for dressing up as a witch growing up.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's like marrying like stop motion in a Halloween film. I think that there's like a seasonality and like a potency to consuming like holiday films, especially when they are stop motion animation. Like there's so many of us that again get so excited to watch Nightmare Before Christmas or Corpse Bride or Coraline during the season. But I feel like for so long there hasn't been a kind of like fresher, more contemporary story that different people can relate to in terms of like a seasonal Halloween film.
Yeah.
And I always, again, wanted to create this world where it's like merging Saks Fifth Avenue meets Spirit Halloween. And I feel like Brim Brim Boulevard is really, the name itself is like meant to evoke like kind of like the department stores that are a mouthful to say, like Bergdorf Goodman or Saks Fifth Avenue, but with this kind of like Halloween twist. And I felt like it was such a, again, amazing convergence to bring the worlds of fashion and stop motion, given their tactile energy and aesthetics together. And again, like since like the film's aesthetic is very much like in an elevated costume, Halloweeny, fashionable department store, like on the contrary, like we wanted to make sure it is very polished and very precise. Like our teams like really worked and challenged each other to be like so finely detailed down to every like millimeter of a sequin placed. So it was a really neat challenge for both sides to come together. And again, this project has been brewing in my mind for many, many years. But we started going into development officially on Halloween, October 2022, and then wrapped January 2024. And we were in Portland, Oregon, which is a lovely stop motion hub in the States. And we worked with an amazing studio called House Special. And again, this amazing convergence between our fashion crew and the stop motion crew.
Okay, great. All right, final question. I love all of your films, especially how character driven they are. I mean, congratulations on that. But can each of you talk about queer representation in your work and why it's so important? Again, we'll start with Luke.
Yeah, totally. So, my the angle that I come at, like we need queer representation in coming from every angle, I believe. So my personal angle is I like fantasy and adventure, and like I'm a sucker for like the Disney style, like, here's the hero, here's the love interest, happily ever after, whatever. Um, or like stereotype fantastical adventures like Lord of the Rings situation. So my angle is to create just like a fantasy adventure. Like there's cool mermaids, there's cool pirates, there's magic, there's tension. It's
Yeah.
a hero's gonna save the day, but like also there's just queer and trans people to make it sort of like not about that, but like they just get to do it too. Like you can also be a Disney princess and be trans or whatever. So that's my personal angle.
Okay. Libro and Jen.
Well, as a writer, I'm always making work about gender or sexuality. So for a number of years, I did a project called the Butch Monologues, which is about the Butch masculine experience. We toured with that show for 10 years. So we went to Australia with it. We went to New York with it.
Yeah.
I also run a press and we do a number of collections. We did a collection called Letter to My Little Queer Self, and we work with queer artists. And we're doing one next year called Letter to My Little Trans Self. So we're working with queer artists and practitioners and writers across the globe. So to write the poem for my grandson, to try and explain to a young child how you're not a grandfather and you're not a grandmother, you're a non-binary grandparent, and the idea of grandandy came about. It was just an extension really of my practice, but to write a poem to somebody of a different generation, to sort of like hand the baton down about how to start these conversations about being trans, non-binary.
Jen.
Whoa, we lost Libra. Well, I think, for me, it was very important because it was Libro's story that they were very much a part of everything.
Mm-hmm.
So we mocked up everything. And I mean, I think the most important thing for me is the representation and also like putting it in a place that isn't not that it's not special, but it's like it's just like everybody else, and it shouldn't feel like a excluded sort of thing over here, but it's just part of everything else, so like everything cis, whatever, it doesn't matter. So that's sort of one of the most important things for me. But this specifically was Libra's story, so it was really driven by Libra, sure.
And PJ.
Similar to Luke's perspective on fantasy and whatnot, I very much relate to growing up. I've always loved Disney, so many different types of animation, just like the fantasy of it all. And I think so many of us queer people relate to the fantasy because sometimes the reality is less than the best. But so we create these worlds so that we can like play and pretend about these fantastical like other worlds that are a better reality for some. And it's more so with Brim Brim Boulevard about, yes, like there's like kind of like a queer aesthetic to both of the characters. Jasper, the trick-or-treater, I very much see him as a boy dressed up as a witch in a dress. And the shopkeeper, who's also this kind of like childish, fashionable, very opposite of Jasper, confident like creature voiced by James Mansfield, who really embodies the opposite of what Jasper is striving to be, like hence like the guide through the store. So I think that, and that like sense of like community, like Brim Brim Boulevard too, like represents like that opportunity to be educated by a community that reveals itself to you in one way, shape, or form. But it's not exclusive, it's very inclusive. Like Brim Brim Boulevard will reveal itself to anyone that needs it, regardless of what their background is.
Okay.
But yeah, I think in this particular iteration, it was neat to kind of be somewhat graphical in showing a little boy dressed up as a witch, which is very much my inner child.
Okay, great. All right, the program is Animation Extravaganza. It is streaming until Sunday as part of Out on Film. Had a very successful in-person screening, and the program was very, very, very well received. Luke, Jen, PJ, Libra, thank you so much for sharing your films with us this year. Thank you for taking the time to talk to us. The Little Pirate Maid, Grand Dandy for Ezra, and Broom Broom Boulevard are part of the programs. I'm so very proud of having all these films, and thank you all. It was wonderful talking to you all.
Thank
you
you
all.
for
Thank you.
having
Bye.
us.
Bye
Thank you
bye.
Very
all
nice
so
to
much.
meet you
Nice
all.
to meet you all.
Bye.
Well, bye.